So now it's a matter of lights, camera, and action once again on NTV today. A few weeks ago, we had this conversation about film, and now we are still going to continue this conversation in light of the fact that it's a very big industry whose potential is not as close to being tapped as it should be, rather. And now we're going to have a conversation in studio with two of my guests, and we have Timothy Owase, who's the acting CEO of the Kenya Film Commission, as well as René Denis, French, as you can tell, and the audiovisual attaché of East Africa at the French Embassy. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Now let's just begin. I know that you're planning to have a film and TV market next week, but before we even get to that, just tackling some of the issues that are in the film space right now. When we look at the film industry in Kenya, for instance, I'll begin with you, Timothy. Why are we not where Nigeria, for instance, is? Why are we not where some of our counterparts in the continent are?
Thank you, Dan. I think the best place to start is that when you look at the Kenyan market for film and TV, we have a huge potential. We are not at where Nigeria is, and not because we are not capable of being there, but we have that serious potential. What's lacking is a few things that ought to be panel beaten within the industry. And we start off with the National Film Policy Framework, which will be able to guide how the industry operates. And also, we basically looking at the film industry, we need to have an injection of funding to the film project so that we are able to have a number of projects coming up on an annual basis to this market and other markets. Also, something not to forget is the fact that film industries across the world thrive because of incentivizing the players within the industry. And that's something that has been lacking in this particular market. But now we are actually heading to a place where we'll have our own incentives and increase the competitive edge. Okay,
and you've mentioned a few things in terms of some of there's a number of challenges, a number of things that need to be done. And one of them is financing. We find many filmmakers across the board in Kenya and many parts of Africa, if we were to expand the conversation, have the challenge of accessing funding. Maybe for you, René, from France, you're more advanced and developed when it comes to this space.
Advances, we work differently. Yeah,
exactly. So maybe you could just ask what's the difference between how you operate in France and what the Kenyan market is going through?
Well, this is something that I kept pushing on to ask the broadcasting houses, especially, you work for one of them, as to play the game properly. I explain myself. In France, a private producer comes with a new idea. He has secured the rights of a novel and he wants to adapt it in a feature film, for example, or he has received a proposal for making a nice documentary. He's going to work with the author or the director or the scriptwriter, whatever is the program, in order to finalize a good proposal. And when the proposal is good enough, he will then meet with the broadcasting houses. There is always in France, you have a commissioner for feature film department, a commissioner for documentary department. So he will go to see the right person, he will introduce the project. And he will knock at the doors of all the private or public broadcasting houses until he finds someone who will say, yes, I like this idea. Yeah, that could make a good film if we are talking about the feature. I want this film. I don't want it to go to my competitors. I'm going to secure the exclusive broadcasting rights. And by doing that, the broadcaster puts some money on the table. How many runs he wants to do with the program, what is the duration of the rights that he wants to take, and what will be the territories that he wants to cover. Those three elements will determine the price of the rights. And when having done that, the producer knows that he has a partner with one broadcaster, and he has a bit of money. It's not 100% of the whole cost of the program, but it's an important part of it. And he will play his role of producer. He will start making other deals in order to complete his financing plan. And one day, he will have the whole of the budget to start the production. But then the broadcaster is now involved in a partnership with the producer. He will follow the shooting. He will be invited when the time will come to do the rough editing, and he will say, no, this sequence, for example, is not good. Our audience, we know our audience very well. They will not like that. It's too violent, for example. Let's remove it. So he has a word on the program. He knows he is now a partner. And then at the time when the program will be completed, then the program will be delivered to the broadcasting houses, and they will play the role of airing the program. And that's time will come to advertise, find some sponsors, do the best to promote the program before it's going to be broadcast, and that's where the money is. So it should work like that.
So
like that.
do you feel that the difference there and here is that
it's a major
could it be
difference.
that the media houses, the broadcasters in France have got more resources at their disposal?
You know, it's been now 2 years since I joined Kenya, and most of the producers I know are complaining that they produce by themselves. They struggle for 2 years, 3 years making a film without finance. It's really difficult for them. When the film is done, then they go to see the broadcaster and say, I have a film. And then the broadcasting houses are in a position of hegemony. Say, okay, we take your film, we will give you 20% of advertising fees. Sometimes it's not always work like that. Some people have I know some broadcasters that have some commissioners that look for where are the good ideas for them to. But most of the time, yeah, it doesn't work the proper way for me. And,
and maybe just to bring
about, sorry, Dan, just to finish quickly, because you are talking about economy. The more contents will be produced in Kenya and the neighboring countries, the contents of quality contents, the more you will produce, the more you will export. You were mentioning Nigeria. Why are they today making $1 billion a year of income? Because they export. They send their programs in the whole of Africa and even outside. So that's what Kenya needs, to reinforce this industry, to consider it as an industry. All the public authorities and decision makers have to know that one day it could really bring a large income to the country, as well as many employment, which is also a big issue for Kenya.
Okay, that's a good point. We'll talk about employment in a bit. But Timothy, you listen to what he's saying, and in light of the fact that France is a more developed and mature economy, it has a more mature film industry than Kenya does, and like one of the main things is financing, because the ideas are there. We're not poor in terms of ideas and skill and talent, be it technical or even just the talent of the actors and the likes. Now, what needs to be put in place? Do we feel that there's also limitations in terms of our regulations, that some of them that may be limiting, or is it a matter of we've not owned it enough that if I'm a financier can come and just say, you have a good idea, I'm going to put 200 million shillings in it?
I think thank you. When you look at the French film market has been around for quite some time. So it's a mature market. Kenya or East Africa is an emerging film market. And I believe we have room to be able to get to the level where we would like to see the local film industry getting to. So financing is one of those key issues that arise when you talk about film. It's again an issue of culture change, because the financial institutions have to look at filmmaking just like any other sector, agriculture, manufacturing, and so on. So when it comes to financing film, I wouldn't like to see a situation where film is regarded as a non-profit making venture. However, again, from the part of practitioners within the industry, they have to also look at the film or the art of making film as a real business, because without such kind of skill of running film as a business, then the financial institutions may not be able to put money on the table. Something else that is key, world over, government support filmmaking. And I believe Kenya government is doing the best it can to be able to put film financing and other aspects of filming in place.
I might interrupt you there and just say there's some people who've argued that not enough is being done by the government to try and to support this sector. I mean, don't you feel it's a conflict of what you're saying, because we see the film side of things is not given as much prominence, and one of the key indicators is the funding. You find not as much of the budget is set aside for film.
Yes, that's an area that
and the arts in general, actually.
Sure. That's an area that will continue engaging government entities, but by the fact that government decided to create institutions or agencies, that's Kenya Film Commission and others, to look at the issues within the film industry in terms of development, marketing, and regulation, that's commitment enough. However, film financing in terms of grants that are always given by other government governments across the world may not happen now because, one, we must have a proper framework to have a film fund in place. Without that, then I think we'll be shooting blanks without proper organization. So the key word here, we are working on organizing ourselves as an industry so that everything is structured. Because without a structured mechanism, then how do you fund and how do you account for the monies that you are giving out?
Okay. And Rene, you said you've been in Kenya for about 2 years.
Yeah.
Moving away from what the broadcasters should give or what, how they should support in terms of financing, how should we reduce the costs of production? Is it possible to reduce? Because I know the costs of production are pretty high if you're to get a number of things going.
I mean,
how can the Kenyan...
The audiovisual or cinematographic sectors, if you want to produce good films, you need money, definitely. I mean, the whole equipment, I mean, even the casting has a cost. I mean, if you want to, that's all the ingredients to make a good films have a cost. So definitely, this is an important aspect. With no money, it's very hard to make a good film normally.
Do you feel like...
So no, I think that's okay. I mean, the techniques evolution has been so big in the last 10 years that it's easy to do. Even with your smartphone today, you can start making a film. And no, it's again, as you said, Dan, previously, it has to be. It needs consideration from public authorities. I think they have to understand that this is an industry that could really, again, bring a large income to the country, and they should be behind it by taking laws, taking measures. In France, we have a main institution called the CNC, National Center of Cinematography. This body is a private body, but they collect through various taxes, levies, they collect money, and they redistribute this money to the producers when they are about to make a new program. So this is a circle. We take, for example, in France, you go to movie theater, you will pay your ticket, and a part, or more than almost 50%, goes back to CNC. This is a tax that has been voted by the governmental ministries, and because of that, CNC is collecting money, and they redistribute money, grant, I'm not talking about loan, grant, to the producer when he wants to start a new movie. So you take money and you re-inject it, you take money, you re-inject it.
Timothy, isn't that what we are kind of looking at when it comes to the fund?
Basically, going forward, that's what we are looking at. And that's why when you look at our proposed tax incentive program, that will give us leeway to create room for our local filmmakers to access various benefits within the industry.
Except that few people only goes to theaters in Kenya. It has to be improved. Also.
Actually, that's a good point. We have as strong a movie watching culture or a film consumption culture in Kenya.
Not the same as the Indian, for example. The Indian people have that in their culture. You go to India, you will see crowds always in theaters. Not in Kenya. It's changing a bit, but from what I've seen, because I go often to movies in the various malls, and it's not a lot of people.
So Timothy, maybe just picking up on Rene's point, if we don't have a strong, film culture in Kenya, do we feel that some of the film industry players are kind of struggling to push against a wall?
Not really.
No.
That's why when you look at the programs that Kenya Film Commission has put in place, they are geared towards achieving some of these things. We have audience development or screen culture development program within our workings. And this is aimed at revamping and renewing our old ways of watching movies. Before, Kenyans used to go out to watch movies. Today, that's a different story, and we would like to create that so that when a filmmaker is really creating a film, you are creating a film with a ready market, or the audience should be there. And again, the other dynamics I think that we should not forget. Anytime you are making a movie, you need to make a movie for someone. Research is critical. And as a commission, we are working on that to see that we are able to give the industry specific trends so that they get to know what programs are viewers looking for. Or those who go to movie theaters, what are they looking for, and what is it that is making them not to go to movies? With all that in place, or with such kind of an understanding, then clear messaging and all that becomes easy. So to respond to your question, whether we are actually doing business that is not headed anywhere, I think the answer is no. The potential is huge, and that's why the Kalasha International TV and Film Market is based in Nairobi. Otherwise, I believe we would not have made an effort to come up with a market if there wasn't such kind of a market.
And you know, sometimes some may feel that, you know, when you speak about film and, you know, creating films, it's largely for the more upmarket people, people who are in the urban areas. How deeply is it entrenched in the rural areas? And we have those people who in the villages, not even villages, even just in the rural areas, you'll find, or in the slum areas, they have a huge cloth that's set up and the projector for them to watch a movie. Is this culture also alive in the rural areas?
That culture is very much alive. When you look at the licenses that are applied for every day to our sister agency, KFCB, especially for video halls, they are in thousands. And what that means, basically, there is audience looking for films or entertainment to watch. And when you look at where we are today, all that is required is to have the right infrastructure in place, and that's when the commission comes in, working with the county governments to re-establish the old or the lost glory of movie theaters that used to be owned by county governments. We would like to re-establish that so that we have a space where anyone at a village would be able to go and watch a movie. I recently visited Meru, and looking at the digital migration, it has created a space where there are many TV channels across Kenya. Meru has about 4 channels, and all these channels are actually showing local content. That's our interest. Broadcasters have been asked to actually air about 40 to 60% local content by CA, and that is in law. We cannot be able to have this kind of content on our screens if the demand for local content is not there. I believe when you look around, most media houses today have a larger percentage of their content being local. Again, that's just a manifest of the demand for that particular content.
Okay.
Yes.
René, maybe you can just tell us, in France, when it comes to film and the arts, under what ministry are they categorized? Because I know in Kenya it's under the sports and heritage, but you know, some have argued that it should be moved maybe to ICT. Yeah, where does it fall?
No, in France, culture is a separate ministry. We have a minister of culture, full point, it's, which is taking care of. It's
a culture ministry. So is it shared like ours is sports and?
No, not like here, especially mixing with sports. What's the point? I mean, that those are two different things. Totally different sectors.
All right, and now he's mentioned, sorry?
Yeah, just making a follow-up to what René has said, I have a different opinion.
Yes.
That different markets present different dynamics. And looking at our market, film is very dynamic and ought to be placed at a very central point, in the sense that when you look at filming, technology plays a very critical role. Information is key. Culture, because we draw stories from our cultural heritage. Look at sports and others. So for me, think about foreign relations, tourism. When we basically come up with a great film, a Kenyan film for that matter, and have it exposed to other markets, that's a selling point. So looking at how film industry should be domiciled within governance system, I think it has to be at a very central point where all these other ministries that connect to the film industry are able to run and
So what would
connect.
be your proposal? What would your preference be?
Okay, looking at our current scenario, I think it's not a problem yet, but we have tested information before. It worked. However, again, there was a gap. So if I'm at culture or at information, what about trade? How do I ensure that the Ministry of Trade is playing a critical role in growing the film trade? Because we would like to see film as a product being exported from Kenya. That will not happen if we don't have that particular ministry involved. Foreign relations. Film communicates a lot, creates understanding, and all that. Our culture will be understood properly through culture or through film if our consulates, we have people who understand film in certain specific markets, for example, Hollywood.
Okay. So Rene, he's mentioned about digital migration, which is not it's not really new, but it's not too old in Kenya. We are still trying to get around it. Media houses, for instance, broadcasters are still trying to figure out how to make extra income coming from the point where we're analog and there was a lot more viewership, right?
You're advanced compared to western parts of Africa, which
exactly.
only Senegal has migrated.
Exactly. So my question here is, what opportunities should the Kenyan film market try and tap into? He's alluded to that in terms of like Meru, he said, has got a number of TV stations. What options are there? Because we're seeing, and also in light of online, people are shooting using their phones.
Yeah, but you name them, Dan. You call them extra resources. Yeah, they are extra resources, but the main ones, you can go to those platforms, VOD platforms, or Facebook, or the digital platforms like that. But they are extra sources of revenue. The main one, you will never finance a very ambitious film just, the VOD platform now, Netflix, iFlix, those guys now have really a lot of resources and they can fund some production. But if we talk about Facebook and all that, it's you need to really have billions of views before making a
those are pretty much like a marketing
the
platform.
major one, the TV is not dead. I mean, and theaters are not dead. So the major really income are coming from television resources and theater resources.
But how do they also balance? Sorry, just interrupt you with the fact that we've got people who are downloading movies online. So you said theaters are not dead. So how do you have that balance? And then if I'm a local producer,
there is a major problem. And you have to fight against piracy.
Yes, piracy. I'm a local producer. I spend a lot of money.
Killing the whole idea. Yeah, of course.
So how then should
you desheritate the rights owners the moment you with pirating music or pirating films, then you are really doing a lot of bad to the industry, of course.
So how should they navigate this?
Well, that's in France. We have the moment you download, if you are doing it very often, you will receive an email saying you be careful. We have noticed that you are a big downloader, and you will be fined. You might be fined if you run a platform or propose. We are fighting.
Timothy,
against that,
on the same point.
Piracy.
Yeah, when we talk about piracy, this is a global problem. And for our scenario here in Kenya, we can only address it through proper awareness, those who pirate, and also enforcement from government agencies responsible for this. At our space, that is Kenya Film Commission, we have put measures in place where we are sensitizing the industry in collaboration with other world bodies like World Intellectual Property, WIPO, and Kekobo. We are doing a lot when it comes to sensitizing this industry to understand what their rights are and what the rights of others are, what boundaries are there, because without that understanding, then infringement becomes a norm, and that's not what we would like to see. Distributors, there were times when we had scenarios where you will get whichever movie at 50 shillings on River Road. Basically, again, here we are saying that should not happen at all, because if I'm aware that Rene produced a film, I should not gain from it. It's an issue of values. So it's broader to the sense that we need to create that awareness, and the government agencies responsible have to increase the level of enforcement.
Yeah.
Okay.
And during the Kalasha International Film and TV Market happening next week, we are going to have some conferences and workshops, plenty of them, but some of them are going to be dedicated to
IP.
Exactly, to
IP.
intellectual
Okay,
property.
and we'll come back to our conversation in studio about the film market. And for now, we want to speak specifically about the upcoming event, which is next week. And largely, the Kalasha, TV and film market seems like a networking platform. Is that all that it's going to be achieving?
Well, Kalasha International TV and Film Market is not solely for networking. It's a real market where business will take place. This is an initiative that was deliberately put in place in collaboration with the French Embassy in Kenya to have film makers have a place where they can sell and buy.
Okay, maybe Rene, what for you as the French embassy, which is maybe just going to be a response to what he's saying, what is that you've seen in Kenya that maybe some of the Kenyans here, we do have people who have a lot of money and a lot of which they can invest in film, but what are you seeing that is not being seen on this side?
No, what I've seen so far is a lot of talented people, a lot of passion. I've met with many people, and you are making good films in Kenya. Watu Wote had almost received an Oscar. You know that the film was part of the Hollywood Oscars, and so yeah, there are talent. And what is needed now is to people work together. I mean, it's the baseline under the title of Kalasha International TV and Film Market is Discover, Connect, Trade. Connection is important. The Kalasha is going to be a place attracting hundreds of people from many countries all over the world. We have now confirmation that we'll have people from Netherlands, United States, Germany, Canada, Australia, Austria, etc., etc. France, of course. We are inviting few producers to be there. We are going to bring a special focus on the animation sector, because the animation sector is really an important one to be developed, because the moment there will be some African animation content, it's going really to be something big. The same what happened with the feature film from Nollywood. So there is a need of, and also to meet the quota, there is a need to produce more animation, more cartoons, with African stories. And you have those stories, of course, you have thousands of them in Africa. So there will be a big push on that through various conferences and workshops. We are going to bring a focus on new technologies. We are going to dedicate a new tech pavilion where we will show some virtual reality, because many people here in Kenya are now developing those new films that you can see, with a special headset, and this is a place for connecting. Yeah, people can come if they have a good ideas for a TV show, for a TV series, for a feature film, for a documentary. Come and please come with a very good developed project. But this is a chance for you to meet with the right people that might be interested with your proposal and start eventually partnering with you. So this is how you build a project, partnering and trade. There will be distributors will be there. Also, that's a way also to push the industry to export. If you don't export your Kenyan content, there will be no income coming.
Yes.
So it distributes, you have to definitely push and develop the distribution sector. But still, some people are going to be here during the Kalasha. There will be a way also, if they really like your program, to say, okay, I take it in my catalog, I'm going to sell it abroad.
Okay, Timothy, and I know one of the issues that many creatives have had, people with ideas of TV shows and the likes, like he's saying, come with your idea. Yeah. One of the issues they've had is that you pitch an idea, someone says, no, I won't take it. The next thing you see it on air elsewhere. And so how are you shielding these entrepreneurs or these creatives intellectual property?
Yeah, that again refers back to our earlier conversation when we talked about piracy. And the more the creatives are aware of their rights, I believe IP protection is critical. When you have a project, as a creative, you have to copyright it.
Yeah, immediately.
Because before you do that, then you may not be able to claim any right to it. Yeah. So we as Kenya Film Commission, we encourage creators to do the right things first before any other step. So within the entire value chain of filmmaking, when you come to Kalasha, you will find that a number of programs that we run on a day-to-day basis will be actualized in terms of capacity building, networking, pitching, and all that within this particular framework. And whatever we've been going around the country trying to train our local filmmakers will be enhanced by international speakers who are coming around next week. So it's clear that IP is critical in the growth of our sector. Okay. And that's why Kekobo and WIPO are very critical in this industry.
Okay, so just for the sake of clarity and just for understanding, especially for those who would be willing, who are part of the industry at whatever level, some may be at an entry level, some are at a bit of an advanced stage, and they're watching and they would like to know, so when I come and I have my idea, do you prefer that I bring a visual one? Some people might choose to come with a bunch of papers like this and come with a proposal such as that. Some might choose to put together a small trailer. And when I come with it, what should I expect? Like that. What are some of the hopeful, take homes?
Okay, maybe I'll just refer to an overview of what the market will look like. Kalasha International TV and Film Market will run for 3 days. That's from 27th to 29th of this month. That's from Tuesday to Thursday of next week. Within this market, yes,
it will take place.
Within this framework, we'll have quite a number of activities happening. We'll have conferences, we'll have workshops, we'll have pitching sessions, as well as exhibition center where we expect about 70 exhibitors, not only local but as well as international. We'll also have on 28th, that is on Wednesday, we'll have a county government conference where all the 47 counties are expected to come and share in terms of filmmaking. Most filming locations reside within counties, and we cannot really ignore the role counties play when it comes to filmmaking. So anyone who is watching right now and they plan to come to the event next week, they should come with an open mind. For pitching, we have already sent out a call. You need to go to the website, Kalasha International, access the guidelines and what we are looking for, and come ready for pitching. A day before pitching, we'll have a session on how to pitch. So we'll train you on how to pitch before the actual pitching.
Okay.
That's it, sir.
Yeah,
okay, Rene, maybe can you just your closing remarks
just
because
one
we've
word
run out
about
of time.
what Timothy said, because the initiative that has been taken by Kenya Film Commission to invite all the county governors, this is a good initiative. You were asking about how to finance films. In France, the counties are, because they are interested. If a film has to be shot, they say, come to my area and do it here, and we will support you. So in France, every region has a special fund to attract filmmakers to say, come and film in my region, in the south of France, the east, west, and north. So that's very good. I mean, the county could play an important role and promote and exhibit their own region and promote it through films. Of course, that's a good, that's one source, and it could be an important one.
Okay, and maybe Timothy, have you as KFC, engaged the counties? I know that Machakos county governor, being a filmmaker himself, has has made some steps. He said you don't have to pay taxes and the likes for just filming in his county. But have you engaged the either the council of governors or just other individual governors to try and see how you can make it a more accessible opportunity for people to film?
Yes, for the past 1 year or so, we've been engaging counties. As we speak now, I have my team in Trans Nzoia County, sensitizing the locals on the art of filmmaking, as well as reaching out to county government so that we are able to have a framework on how to work together as a national government agency as well as counties. Talking about Machakos, Meru, and others, we have reached out to over 15 counties. And this is an ongoing interaction and collaborative effort which we cannot really ignore, because we know very well with support from counties, and when we work as one, then chances of growing the industry are very high.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kenya Film Commission is also working as to push an incentive tax to be in place. This is important. Why all the films are going to be, most of them are filmed in South Africa, because South Africa is capable to offer an incentive tax to the producers. And until Kenya
does that,
they will always be passed, and people will go straight south to make their films. This is what happened also with the Queen of Katwe, a Ugandan story of this girl from the slum who became a champion, a chess champion. The film was only maybe 2 minutes of the film was shot in Kampala. The whole rest of the film was made.
Exactly, and so that's a conversation that
that's
going
all
forward.
those elements. They need a public support. They need a public understanding how important it is. Countries have really developed a lot through that. A country like Morocco all started with the Star Wars movie when Spielberg made a few sequences of the film in Morocco, and then they started slowly to develop this tradition of welcoming foreign shootings. And now you go to Morocco, you have some studios. You have, this also, by welcoming foreign shootings, it pushes also the people locally to become actors, to become technicians.
And so they actually become more engaged.
It contributes to build the industry. So it's important to get, for this incentive tax to really be becoming soon, and to be pushed by all governmental bodies. This is important.
Thank you very much, Rene Denis, or Kenyans may say Dennis, but Rene Denis,
you can say Dennis,
the audiovisual attaché of East Africa at the French Embassy, as well as Timothy Owase, the acting CEO of the Kenya Film Commission. And these are some recurring conversations keep coming up, and recurring points in terms of the government's goodwill, incentives being put in place to ensure these businesses feel that they're actually businesses legitimately, and they feel that they actually have a good playing space in terms of how they can operate, that they don't feel so constrained. And like we've been told, the county governments are being engaged to ensure that they can put in place measures that and incentives that can actually help filmmakers to feel that they actually can do their best and create that culture, grow it in terms of the local culture. We've seen people talking about policies. Some have felt that some policies are not as sensible to them, and some feel that too much taxation is happening within one sector. And this is not only limited to to film. We've also seen this had been a concern years ago about tea. And so we wait to see whether the government is going to play ball, or whether it's going to still remain in the same space it is in, and hopefully that the film and the arts in general can be taken more seriously and can be taken as great. Their potential as revenue earners can actually be tapped.